All right, from our proposed ice facility in Salt Lake City to our current water conditions and our low snowpack, there's a lot to talk about in our state right now. We are putting former Governor Gary Herbert in the hot seat. He joins us to talk about. Governor Herbert, thank you for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's always good to talk to you guys.
All right, so give us your thoughts on this proposed new ice facility in Salt Lake City on the far west side.
Well, I think there's some frustration because things seem to have happened behind us, closed doors that the state of Utah is not aware of. Our congressional delegation are not informed. The governor's office is not informed. Our legislature is not informed. And all of a sudden we have a detention center popping up just south of the airport. So I think there's frustration there. That being said, the upside is it's a big facility. A lot of construction jobs and probably ongoing employment jobs will happen out there. So there's some economic development. Heavens, they paid $145 million for the property and the buildings and the warehouse there. Yeah, so it's a big facility and going to employ a lot of people. I have some concerns about the lack of information, and I'm sure there's some questions that still need to be asked and still need to be answered.
Yeah, of course, our local leaders in Salt Lake City and Salt Lake County, they've come out this ice facility saying, hey, would water laws be or zoning laws be satisfied, things like that. Do you share those types of concerns?
Yeah, again, I think there needs to be more open dialogue so we can understand. If you don't have a dialogue, then people fear the worst. And I think Mayor Mendenhall is concerned about what's going to take place. It's going to be out there on the inland port property, so probably the zoning is not a problem. But it's, again, there ought to be some open communication so that people don't have doubts and questions that are going unanswered.
All right, I want to change topics here. I want to talk about our water situation. Of course, we have a historically low snowpack. We're seeing record heat here in June. A lot of people are afraid what could happen this summer with warm temperatures. How should Utah prep for a really dry year?
Well, we have to do what we can do. There's some things we can't control, but some things we can control. I hear our weathermen telling us don't water your lawns until May. So delay your lawn's in a dormant situation, so it's okay. It'll survive. It maybe looks a little grungy, but don't water till May. As we do our cycle of watering, we ought to put in a gap day, so stretch it out, take one day off, and you'll survive. The grass will survive, and will, in fact, conserve a lot of water. That'll make a big difference. So we really have to take the matter kind of into our own hands and do what we can do by conserving more water, using less, and see if we can get through. I think our reservoirs actually are surprisingly probably strong for not having much snowpack, but it's not going to get a lot of runoff. And what runoff we have may happen early, which means we don't store the snow high up in the mountains and release it later in the season. So we have a real challenge here, but I think we all do our part. We'll be okay.
Do you remember going through some really tough water years?
You know, I not like this one. This is the worst I've ever seen. I mean, it's been so warm. I mean, it's like spring has been all through winter or fall. And so I've never recalled a time like this. We've had a lot of excess moisture. You look back to 1983, 84, we had so much snow and runoff. Utah Lake filled up and they couldn't release it down the Jordan River. We ended up having, under Norm Banger's watch, the pumps put out there in the West Desert so that the Great Salt Lake could take the excess water and then pump it out into the West Desert. I mean, that's hard to even conceive of today.
Mm-hmm. All right, I want to change topics once again. I want to ask you about the Save America Act. It's currently being debated in the United States Senate. Utah Senator Mike Lee has been a strong advocate for this. Some have come out against it. Current Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson has highlighted some issues she sees with it. What are your thoughts on the Save America Act?
Well, I can understand Lieutenant Governor being concerned. I know she said that she's never been contacted by Senator Lee, as we're upset about the detention center, ICE, and doing what they've done behind closed doors and not having appropriate and proper communication with the state of Utah. The same thing could be said about the SAVE Act. We ought to, if I'm a senator, I ought to say, how's it going in my state? What can I learn from my own clerks and my lieutenant governor? And then at least bring them on board and see if we can work together on getting the right outcome. So I think there's concerns about that. The other concern I have is that I'm not sure we have a problem. Seems like we have a solution in search of a problem, but I've Googled up, and probably you can try to do the same thing and find out how many non-citizens do we actually have voting out there. And the answer is very, very, very few. Again, I have no problem with showing ID when we vote. We have an ID program working pretty well here in Utah, but do we have a solution in search of a problem, or is there something really going on here that we don't know about? I think there's a lot of communication gaps, and I think that the election process in America and throughout the states is doing well. Plus, I believe it's a state issue. Again, for those who follow the Constitution, this is a state issue. We don't want to have a one-size-fits-all coming out of Washington, D.C. I think that's the wrong direction to go.
And of course, elections are run by the states, and so 50 different states out there. So yeah, I understand you're saying that it's a state issue. I want to end with this, Governor Herbert. I want to talk about March Madness. Let's talk about something fun as we end. How is your bracket looking? How well have you done during this NCAA tournament?
Well, when you're governor, you have a lot of help. And so I did it when I was governor and lieutenant governor. It was kind of a fun thing to do. We did it in-house and along with everybody else. Right now, I just follow our local teams. Here at Utah Valley University, and we came within a slam dunk of getting into the NCAA playoffs. Unfortunately, we'll try again next year. BYU, we know the storied challenge they've had with injuries, and Richie Saunders getting hurt. His dad used to work for me during the COVID times and run our health department, so we have a connection there, and I feel really bad for BYU and Richie Saunders. His injury, I think they would have gone deep into the March Madness. Unfortunately, they lost in the first round. And Utah State came and acquitted themselves extremely well, playing one of the top teams in America to a nearest draw. Lost in the last minutes, but played very well. I'm very hopeful about Utah State and the Aggies and their basketball program going forward.
All right. Former Governor Gary Herbert, thank you so much for talking to us. We always enjoy it.
Thank you. It's always great to be on with you.
All right. You have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
Remember, you can watch Arc Salt Lake anytime on your phone, tablet, or TV. Check out highlights from all of our newscasts on the Arc Salt Lake YouTube page. You can scan the QR code right there on your screen.